What's up, everybody? It's time for episode 4 of The Walking Dead. Hopefully, you've watched it already. If you haven't, spoiler alert, because I'm going to be talking about all of it here as we do the breakdown and review. It's about 4 o'clock in the morning, my time. I get up at 3 on these mornings, so I can get up, watch it, and get it out. So let's dive in. Again, spoiler alert for those of you who don't want anything spoiled. I'm going to get into my show notes here. We's gonna go. So we get the episode starting off with Ellie in a mirror, going pew pew pew, and she's basically playing tough here, trying to figure it all out. It looks like no, not a lot of gun safety going on, but that's okay because she's just trying to learn how to protect herself. We go then outside and we find Joel siphoning gas, and he's like giving her this little speech about how, this is the physics of, gas losing potency over time and the siphoning of everything and everything else. And um, she pulls a pun book out and starts trying to pull jokes on Joel, and he's like, God, please no, just go back to the truck. And we get at this moment of like the rapport is finally building. Um, which is interesting because I've been doing a playthrough of the game and I haven't played it since like 2018 when that was the first time I played it, other than a brief stint in 2017 when I was at my brother's. That's how I knew about this game. Anyway, um, I've been doing a playthrough recently, and so this is somewhat coinciding with that, but it's great to get the other perspective from the show as it goes along. So they're in the truck, and this is the scene from the game that I literally just played through a few days ago where they're driving on the highway and she pulls a cassette out of the truck seat and gives it to him, and he's like, oh, this is a little bit before my time, and he puts it in. It's some Hank Williams. And then she finds the gay porno mag in the back seat. She's like flipping through it and teasing Joel the whole time, like, oh my God, how can he walk around with that? And she's like, ew, why are the pages so sticky? And Joel's like, and she's just like, I'm just fucking with you. And then chucks it out the window with the bye bye, dude. So that was pretty much line for line from the game. So very well done on that front. Beyond that, we have the traveling monologue where they're just driving along empty highways and everything's broken down while they're listening to the Hank Williams song. So we've got broken down tanks, cars, all sorts of stuff. And eventually, we get to this scene where they park sort of off the road in the woods, and we get a little bit of dialogue about how they're kind of safe from the infected here, which makes sense because the cordyceps. I mean, this was in the documentaries that you can go watch on like YouTube and stuff. Like the way it works in ants is they'll infect the ant, the one ant, and they'll have that ant. They'll guide that ant back to the colony so that it can spread into the colony. And like if the in nature, if other ants detect it in time and understand that that one's infected, they'll actually take the body and like put it way out, like get away from our colony because they know that it's dangerous. Um, but this is the way it works. It goes into the heart of a populated area. So he's talking here about how we're really not. There's no threat of infected out here, but um, people. There's definitely an issue with people. Um, and the hunters will do more than just rob us. And she tries another joke right before bed, but this time he actually answers, and they share another small chuckles here. So the rapport is continuing to build each time we see them like in a camp scenario because this is supposed to be a passage of time here. Um, no one's gonna find us. He's trying to calm her down a little bit, but he's obviously wary as fuck. Ends up getting up at like whatever time it is. We see him in the wee hours of the morning, awake with his rifle, just on guard while she's sleeping. Um, and I wasn't sure if they were going to do this or not, because in the game, there's this sequence of um, I've been on both sides of the fence, and Ellie questions him on it, but we don't ever get like an answer. And I was thinking about that during this scene because when he tells her that the hunters will do more than just rob you, I was like, that's because he's been there. He was at one point in time a hunter, and that's kind of a sobering thought to the character. Um, I love the way they did it in this episode, by the way. I wasn't sure if they were going to allude to that fact, but they did bring it up. But it's later on in the episode, so let's continue on with the review. Um, we're then in the truck travel scene again, and she's another travel sequence, and she's wanting to know more about Tommy. So he does actually open up and give her a little bit of a background, and basically says, my little brother, he's a joiner. He likes to feel part of a group, wants to be a hero. And he joined the army when he was 18, went to Desert Storm, but the army didn't make him feel like much of a hero because obviously it's the army and it is what it is. So you can tell that Joel doesn't have high opinions of that organization. Um, says then, 12 years later, there's the outbreak, and Tommy convinces Joel to join a group going up to Boston, and Joel goes along mostly to protect him, and that's where they met Tess. And then they just made their way north and eventually got to the city, and Tommy met Marlene, and she convinced him to join the Fireflies. And as Joel says, it's the same mistake he made at 18, wanting to save the world. Pipe dreams. It's just delusional. So Joel does not have those same outlooks on things, and that's this is basically he goes on about how Tommy left the Fireflies and he's all alone out there, and I got to go rescue him. So Ellie wants to know if your outlook is so bleak and so dismal and you don't see any hope for the world, then why do you keep continuing? And this is where we get this brilliant but dark um, commentary of you keep going for family. And she's like, "But I'm not family." He goes, "No, you're cargo." Which is a little bit harsh, but he goes, "I made a promise to Tess, and Tess was like family to me." But the kid gets it. I mean, it's a brutal truth, but it's there's honesty at least between these two, and she accepts that. It is what it is. But I do like the way they close this sequence out where she's like, "Well, how do you know you're gonna find Tommy?" And he's like, and Joel says, "I'm persistent." And I was just like, that's one way of just saying because I'm gonna do it. I'm a badass. It will happen. I'm the hero character, at least for this part of the journey. Um, Now they're in the city streets, and so I know where this is going because I just played through this sequence in the game. So I remember this part. But they've put their own unique spin on things here. So I really like, at least I think they do because I don't remember any of this from the game. Now I haven't played in a very long time. I only played it through the once, and the part where I'm at right now during my playthrough is they just got past the hunters and now they're working their way through the city to get to the bridge. And I've done I think one or two of the sequences to get to the bridge, so I'm getting there. Um, in the game, I remember them just being hunters, but here I could be misremembering. There may be more to it because I haven't played through it far enough yet. But here in the show, we get this. There's more going on here. But we start off with the hunter sequence, right? So they're driving on the highway. They get to the town. Um, they're the city, I should say, outskirts of Kansas City. They say, and the road's blocked. And so he's like, "We'll just go back, find the next overpass, and we're back on." The only problem is they get lost in the city outskirts, and now they're in the heart of buildings and everything else. And it's not quite downtown, but it's there's buildings. You can't see anything. And Ellie's not sure how to read a map. She's like, "It's only my fucking second day in a car," and um, Joel's starting to get panicked, and then all of a sudden Ellie's like, "Is that the QZ?" And they look down the street and they can see the quarantine zone, but the entrance to the quarantine zone, but the guards are all gone. And Ellie's like, "Where the fuck is FEDRA?" And then you hear the dude, "Hey man, help!" And it's one of the hunters, and he's stumbling out into the street. And Joel's like, "Get your seatbelt on." And I was like, "Oh, this is that scene from the game, and he ain't hurt," So they it's an ambush, and the ambush sequence was great. They get through it. It's an action sequence. Two guys come through. A third one, catches Joel by surprise. Ellie comes out, shoots him in the back. It doesn't kill him. And this scene was a lot different than in the game, but it adds a little bit of humanity to things, but also shows that Joel's willing to do whatever it takes to survive because the third one, who she shoots in the back, and he's like laying on the floor screaming about how he can't feel his legs and he just wants his mommy. And I promise, here, just take my knife, take anything. Can we just talk? Just take me back to my mom. She'll take care of me. She'll cure me. She'll heal me and all this other stuff. And Joel makes Ellie go hide and he takes care of takes him out. Um, it sounds brutal, but It is brutal. There's no way ifs, ands, or buts about it. But the way I look at it is from a storytelling perspective, we've now added this level of uncomfortableness with Joel, um, because he's willing to do the hard things that no one wants to think about doing. And a lot of people would have a problem doing if they were in a survival situation. But for one, this kid's just bleeding out on the floor. It's a mercy to end it. Um, Also, being shot in the back, there's no recovery from that. Like, even if he were to survive the bleeding, he's now infected food. Like he's not going to be of use to anybody or anything after this. But also because it's an interesting look at things. And then they have this whole sequence where, um, it's basically, well, we'll get to that in a minute. Sorry, I'm reading my show notes and I got sidetracked here. But it's just basically this scene was very powerful because it shows that Joel's willing to do anything to survive. Sorry, guys, I totally am like sitting here reading like two paragraphs ahead and I got lost. um, the whole thing is now they got to get to a view, so they got to go up. And I wonder here, and they didn't show it in this episode, so I don't know if it's going to come into the next episode. But I actually had a thought pop into my head when I was writing my show notes, and I literally wrote, "Are they going to have the pallet scene from the show?" Because that would be kind of cool to see. Ellie can't swim, and Joel's got to push her across the body of water on a pallet. In any case, we see trucks going by. There's armed dudes. They find the bodies. Joel and Ellie are off to try to escape. Now we get this sequence, and this is where I was talking about earlier. I don't remember this from the game at all from my previous playthrough, and I could just be not remembering it, but I feel like this is something. I haven't even looked this up. I'm not spoiling it for myself by looking it up yet. I'll look it up later after my review. But I can't remember if this is from the game or not. But anyway, we meet this interrogation sequence. We meet these two individuals. We have a woman who's interrogating a man, and through the course of the conversation, we come to find out that her brother was killed by FEDRA. So she's like the leader of the survivors that have taken over, and this is like the family doctor or something. And she's asking about people from a list, and she's looking for somebody named Henry. And then we get her meeting with these other people, and this actor I can't remember his name. I've seen him in a lot of things before, but this dude's got like long hair, white, grayed out beard, but he's just decked to the nines in military gear. And I'm like, dude, that's one lethal motherfucker right there. Like he's just looking it. So this is, as far as I could tell, these are the survivors who took over Kansas City from FEDRA. And my question here in the show is, are they just going to be hunters, or are they actually just people trying to survive, like Joel has talked about in the past? Um, so anyway, she's like freaking out about somebody called Henry. We have to stop him and the collaborators, kill them all. Then we're back to Ellie and Joel. We have another bonding moment, which are happening frequently throughout this episode. And he's basically really feeling sorry for Ellie having to shoot that guy. It wasn't my first time, she replies. He gives the gun back, teaches her some gun safety tips and how to hold the gun properly, which is great. And then she gets the gun back. So he at least trusts her enough now to let her defend herself. And he knows that she can handle a gun if necessary. And plus, she saved his life. It's a win win. We're back to the woman leader of the remnants. Her long-haired merc dude is leading her to this building where they found like a safe house, and there's like kid drawings on the walls. So apparently there's a kid involved, and she names it as Sam, and she notices all these empty cans of food, and she looks pissed. And she's like, Henry won't let Sam starve. Double the guards around the provisions. And I was like, okay, so this is, yeah, I don't remember this at all. Um, but now he wants to show her something different, which is down in the basement, and we get this sunken down depression where the floor is all cracked and everything. And then as they're standing there watching, it starts bubbling and buckling. So there's obviously infection down there. That's the mold, and it's coming up, and it's basically growing upwards, and it's gonna do an explosion of spores or whatever. And they both freak the hell out, back out of the room. And the dude's like, "We need to head out of here." But she wants to stay until they're finished, and he doesn't agree with her, but he's like, okay, boss. And we're back to Ellie and Joel. They're in a building. They got to climb. There's 45 flights of stairs. And this is when we got the sequence, which I wasn't sure if they were going to do or not, but this is when they're climbing the stairs and she's asking him about things, and he's like, I've been on both sides. With Tommy and Tess, we had to do what we had to do to survive. And she asks him if he killed innocent people, and he won't respond to that question, just like in the game. Um, and then we get to them being on the 33rd floor, and he's worn out. She's teasing him, and he's like, I'm 56 years old, you little shit. Um, so again, a little more bonding. Um, and then as they're prepping everything, and Joel's like putting glass down on the floor to keep people from sneaking up on him, um, she's teasing him a little bit because he, she's like, you can't hear very well out of your right ear, apparently, I've noticed. And it's because he's got that scar on his face. He's like, "Is that from you getting shot?" And he's like, no, it's from me shooting all the time on this side. So stick to that knife if you want to keep your hearing. And then as they're going down here, he kind of wants to ask her a little bit more about the first time she had to kill someone, and she's like, I don't want to talk about it. But then she does say, she does ask him, does it get easier as you get older? And he's like, no, no, it doesn't. And they go to sleep. And right as they're going to sleep, she tells another joke, and this one he laughs at. So it's a really is a beautiful moment because they finally have this moment where they're laughing together, and she's teasing him for losing it, and he's like, I am losing it, like this is ridiculous. And they eventually go to sleep, and then they wake up, it fades to black, and then we come back, and um, Ellie's got a gun to her, and somebody's got a gun to Ellie's head, and it turns out to be an adult male, and then there's a kid holding the gun to Joel's head. Um, so this has got to be Henry and Sam. It's got to be Henry and Sam. So yeah, fade to black. That's the end of the episode. Really great episode. Again, fast pace, moving the story forward. Um, really, really happy with what this episode showed in terms of the bonding between these two characters. And I am gonna look this up while I'm sitting here, because I want to know, and I can't just go through this whole review without doing this. So, they do originally appear in the video game. I don't remember Henry and Sam at all. You can hear the chickens. So yeah, they are in the game. I don't remember that. I don't remember them at all. But again, that was years ago when I played this game. Kansas City, Sam and Henry. Hey, I'm reading about this. Outward Love and Emerald is comparing the gameplay. Okay. We meet the next pair of characters on the road, Henry and Sam. Okay. So, avoiding spoilers, I'm just reading something very quick. Video game also includes these two characters. Okay. In the game, they meet under similar circumstances. But the meeting occurs at the halfway mark of the game when Joel and Ellie reach Pittsburgh. The series has swapped Pittsburgh for Kansas City. Okay, so I haven't gotten to this part in the game, and that's why I'm not remembering it at all. So the show actually got ahead of me, which is really cool. As in the game, the city is full of paramilitary forces. In the game, they are the hunters. In the show, they seem to be revolutionary force that overthrew FEDRA. Okay, this is the part where I was correct. The game doesn't explore the internal politics of the faction who overthrew FEDRA, but the series is making its leadership structure and entire storyline. So that's why we're getting this female character who's the leader of the survivors. So this was the part that's invented. That's why I couldn't remember Henry and Sam either. So they've blended again where they've taken some stuff from the game, but they've spun it out and made an original sub story that's going to carry us through at least this episode and the next episode probably. So really cool. So this makes up for those of you who are watching going, yeah, man, don't you remember Henry and Sam from the game? I didn't remember them from the game because I only played it once years and years and years ago, and I didn't remember them. And I haven't gotten to that part of the playthrough, so it is what it is. Anyway, if you like my weird reviews, which aren't like the best reviews of the internet, and you like my style and you want to get more, don't forget to like, subscribe, hit the bell icon. Stick around because we'll be reviewing this along with all the other shows we review. And of course, I'm playing the game right now, doing a replay for the first time since forever. And I'm trying to do the gameplay through in conjunction with the episodes. So I'm streaming a little bit here and there, but mostly I'm just playing offline and uploading these like 30-minute episodes, which go at 5 p.m. every day on Central Time. But I'm trying to stay relatively in line for the show. In this case, the beginning of the episode, I was actually ahead because I'd already gotten to the city and we had gotten about halfway through the city. And midway through the episode, they actually are a little bit ahead of me because we'd already, by the end of this episode, we have met Henry and Sam. I haven't met them yet in the game. So, yeah, I'll catch up on that this week. Anyway, support if you can. Memberships, super chats, super stickers, all those things. Super thanks. Don't forget the Patreon page if you want to get involved with our tabletop stuff. And I'll see everybody in the next episode. Hopefully, you're enjoying the show as much as I am. 10 out of 10. Loved it. Another great episode of this show. Can't wait to see the next one. Peace.